Throughout my life, one thing that's been consistent is that I've always been a super fan of Kanye West. A majority of his albums are among my favorites of all time. Seeing him in concert was one of the best nights of my life, and I could go on and on. It's hard to describe to you how much this man's music has meant to me. His discography has shaped my musical taste in more ways than I'll ever know, and regardless of any of the stuff that he's been doing lately, he'll always mean a lot to me. And so with that context out of the way, I want to explain a realization that I had a few weeks ago. Pop country superstar Taylor Swift had just dropped her album Folklore, and it was getting great reviews, but I wasn't really interested whatsoever. A friend asked me what I thought of it. I explained that I only checked out the song with Bon Iver. She told me, seriously, check out the whole album, it's good stuff. And then I started thinking to myself, why am I so against listening to this project? And here's what I came up with. The first reason is that from the perspective of my dumb, insecure middle school brain, Taylor Swift, who was a new up-and-coming musician at the time, was for girls. That's not cool. Let me go listen to Let It Rock by Kevin Rudolph featuring Lil Wayne. Thank you very much. Obviously, that type of insecurity has been remedied by now, and I feel like $1,000,000 driving down the street and absolutely blasting Night Changes by One Direction. Who cares? But why has it taken me longer to accept Taylor Swift specifically? I don't know, maybe it was the decade-long feud between her and one of my lifelong idols. From I'ma Let You Finish to all the back and forth in the press, to them making up, then Famous happened, then the Grammy speech, the snake emojis, and so on. I was an impressionable kid. Taylor Swift was always seen as the enemy for me and all of Team Kanye, but now I'm realizing that it's been years since I would have even slightly cared about any of that, and I still haven't checked out her music. Or that was until 2 weeks ago when I started listening to her discography constantly for this video, and now, from a Kanye stan who is ready to give you his true, unbiased opinions of Taylor Swift's music, here are my thoughts and rankings of her albums. In dead last, we have Reputation. Spoiler alert for the rest of the video, this is the only one that I disliked. After listening to this album, I was just confused about what this is. It clearly seems like it was her trying to make this big step in a different direction, but everything about it just doesn't seem real. There are these huge, dramatic, overarching ideas both musically and lyrically, but nothing ever comes to fruition. You're introduced to Taylor Swift doing this dark take on electropop where there's trap influences and some EDM, but the production is not as ambitious as those ideas might sound. A pop country superstar navigating those styles sounds terrible on paper, but I don't even think this album sucks. It's just nothing. Lyrically, the main themes revolve around celebrity, fame, and, reputation, and those concepts have been fascinatingly explored by other musicians, but Reputation just doesn't go very deep with it. The electropop sounds are bland, the main concepts I mentioned, and this sinister alter ego she has never go anywhere, and these are certainly the weakest melodies I've heard in her discography. The one track that I enjoyed and could see myself listening to in the future was Delicate. This is the main song on Reputation where musically, the stars began to align. It sounds like there was a lot of work put into this instrumental. It's unorthodox for her without going too crazy. Everything feels very smooth, and the world that she tried building on this album, I believe it on this track. I'm living in it for this one song, but that was kind of it. Okay, everything from here on out I think is at least perfectly fine, which even though I was going into this with an open mind, I did not expect to like as much stuff as I did. The reason for the low placement here is simply because Taylor was super young, inexperienced, and she had a ton of growing to do. That's it. Most of these tracks are decent, albeit forgettable, country pop rock tunes. The project starts out with Tim McGraw, which is a solid singer-songwriter track, but next up is Picture to Burn, and this song is nuts. For anyone watching that, like me, never gave Taylor a chance and only thought of her as a boring pop star, Picture to Burn is a chaotic country banger. With certain vocal inflections and cadences, it's awesome to hear her let loose. She's in total command of this song, but none of it feels forced. She's relaxed and having the time of her life on this angsty country breakup song. Teardrops on My Guitar is next, and from what I've gathered, this is Taylor's big breakout song song, and sure, I like it. That chorus hits pretty hard, and I imagine that this was an absolute anthem for teenage girls everywhere in 2006. As the album progresses, the songs get a little bit less interesting, and it's like I said before, she was finding her musical identity and style. She clearly shows songwriting prowess and a strong voice. I am not looking to bash 16-year-old Taylor Swift here. In general, it's a solid country album that showed lots of potential. I think that there's a great album somewhere within Lover, but it's just a bit bloated. I was surprised when I looked up what the singles were because I think that there's a very blatant line here between two of the best tracks on the album and then two of the absolute worst. The title track is this dreamy, atmospheric thing that I just pictured two people slow dancing to. P.S. That bridge is one of the best moments in any Taylor Swift song that I've heard. It's phenomenal. Then The Man sounds like what Reputation should have been. She's confident, she knows exactly what she wants, there's an electropop vibe with some EDM noises and other sound effects in the background. It really works. And then with tracks like Me and You Need to Calm Down, no, I don't like these at all. You know how Hot Shower by Chance the Rapper sounds like it was made to be a TikTok song? These sound like they were made to be in the background of JCPenney back-to-school commercials. Lover is such a bright, inviting album that shows the best and worst sides of Taylor Swift. Something like I Forgot That You Existed shows her skills as a songwriter, I Think He Knows has a ton of personality and it's so much fun, but things fall apart near the end of the track list. Part of me wants to rank this album much higher, at least to number 5, maybe even number 4, but there's too much dead weight on here. If this thing stopped at Soon You'll Get Better, it's probably one of the best pop albums of the last few years. We've talked about the country roots of Taylor Swift, we've discussed the poppiest of pop music, but Fearless is a neat little sweet spot right in between. I didn't really like this, I thought this was okay, this was better than okay, but with Fearless, this is the first time on this channel you'll hear me say the words, "This Taylor Swift album is good." What do I want in country music? I want it to be emotional and move me. I want to care about what's going on within the song. What do I want in pop music? I want it to be catchy. I want to be able to sing it all day without getting sick of it, and so on. What do you get when you mix those two genres? Amazing, memorable, touching bangers like You Belong With Me, Love Story, 15, and White Horse. If I was gonna suggest a Taylor Swift album to someone that's never heard her music, I think this is a wonderful place to start. This album came to Taylor at a point in her career where both her songwriting and vocals were definitely getting better, but she still had that sweetness and innocence of a young country girl who was not a superstar yet. On You Belong With Me, she's singing about not being one of the cool kids. Forever and Always is an impulsive breakup song, and on Change, she's showcasing her singing chops in a way that she hadn't done before. Fearless is a remarkably talented young musician that is clearly still proving herself, and I think that that hard work shows within this album. Okay, so I have some explaining to do. While I'm making this video, I've had it in my mind that this is my list of Taylor Swift's albums from worst to best, and in my opinion, 1989 fits well at around this number 4 spot. However, if this was a list of Taylor Swift's albums from least favorite to favorite, 1989 would drop down a few notches, possibly even below Lover, and then everything else would move up. My thing with this album is that I respect the craft of making an absolute earworm. I hear Blank Space, Style, Bad Blood, and especially Shake It Off, and I think to myself, wow, it makes perfect sense why these were on the radio 24/7, and why millions of people kept replaying them, but I don't really like them myself. I just don't think that there's a whole lot of flavor on this album. There's not enough style for me, no pun intended. It's not nearly as empty as Reputation, but I feel a similar kind of detachment to it. The main song that stuck out to me in a good way was I Know Places. It's got this slightly eerie, dark energy that feels natural, and it reminded me of somebody like Billie Eilish. Okay, so I loved Fearless, and Speak Now is basically just a more mature version of that in my opinion. The song songwriting is sharper, it's more poetic, and there's some real attitude here and there. If there's one thing I've come to love about Taylor and her music, it's her attention to detail within her writing. Some musicians choose to write offensively vague songs to try and garner the interest of anyone with eardrums, but not her. She's not telling an age-old story that you've heard time and time again. No, she's writing about her short stint with John Mayer, an older musician that toyed with her, a younger, naive girl new in the industry, who, even though she was being played by a master manipulator, she still should have seen it coming. Now, can you still hear this song and relate it to your own experiences being manipulated in a relationship? Of course you can. I personally think that the more details in a song, the more people can relate to it, and not the other way around. Mean is about a specific review from a critic after her performance at the Grammys. Back to December is an apology to Taylor Lautner. Sparks Fly is about a guy she had a crush on when she was 16. The Story of Us is an awkward encounter with John Mayer after they had broken up. You see what I mean? It may seem like a simple idea, but songs tend to mean more when they're actually about specific life events, and Speak Now is full of these sincere, passionate singer-songwriter tracks. We finally arrive at the album that sparked the idea for this whole video, and I do think it's a great record. If you know anything about this project, you know that it's Taylor embarking on this indie folk path, which is something we haven't exactly seen her do before. But let me be very direct here. Taylor Swift being a talented indie folk singer should not surprise anyone that knows her music. Her roots are country. Country and folk often go hand in hand. She's shown countless times throughout her career that she can be a fantastic storyteller, and that's essentially what this whole genre is about. It's a sound and style that is built from telling tales and passing down stories from one generation to the next, and Taylor fits right in with that. The imagery on Folklore is descriptive beyond words. One of the standout tracks that really proves to you that she belongs in this space is The Last Great American Dynasty. In this song, Taylor talks about and is likening herself to Rebecca Harkness, a philanthropist and patron of the arts from the mid-1900s, and what ties this all together is that Taylor Swift recently bought a mansion that Rebecca Harkness used to live in. This is one of the coolest concepts of a song that I've seen in a long time. Her writing this historical, biographical song which ties in with her own life, set over a contemporary, folky-inspired pop instrumental, is perfect. She's not only staying true to this genre that she's trying out, but she's also staying true to herself. The track Exile with Bon Iver is a good slow burn duet that climaxes with this massive, gorgeous layering of harmonies and strings. This Is Me Trying draws you in with an ominous tone and some enticing echo effects. Peace is this unique, tranquil tune detailing Taylor's changing opinions on love, and it has one of her most fascinating instrumentals to date. The production on Folklore is probably the best within her entire discography. Every single moment here feels earned, nothing's out of place, and I can't wait to see where she goes from here. In my humble opinion, 2012's Red, Taylor's fourth album, is her very best. We've got hits, we've got expertly written singer-songwriter tracks, we've got country, pop, and alt-rock. Put it all together, and this is the project that perfectly encapsulates Taylor Swift's entire career. We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together is fun, tongue-in-cheek, and it's a perfect storm of Taylor maturing enough that she knows exactly what she wants, but still snarky enough to send shots at the guy as she leaves. It has the energy of You Belong With Me and the attitude of Dear John. I Knew You Were Trouble adds in a few EDM drops that were trendy at the time, and honestly, I think it kinda works. I don't really know how they pulled that off, but whatever. 22 and Red are certifiable smash hits like some of the stuff that I mentioned off 1989, but I buy into these songs way more than I do the others. Though I'm obviously new to this fandom, the singles off Red just feel more like Taylor. The intent is much clearer, the song Red has a color, conceptual thing going on, and 22 has plenty of her wit and humor within the track. And now, I'll try to do this quickly because I could talk about this one forever, but All Too Well is the best song Taylor Swift has ever made. This was the main time throughout my listening journey where I was speechless, I was truly shocked, and I thought to myself, this right here is a once-in-a-lifetime artist. While Taylor has many songs about breakups, none of them come close to hitting as hard as this one does. Oh, Your Sweet Disposition and My Wide-Eyed Gaze. We're singing in the car getting lost upstate. autumn leaves falling down like pieces into place, and I can picture it after all these days. That is magic, and you can call me up again just to break me like a promise, so casually cruel in the name of being honest. I'm a crumpled up piece of paper lying here, cause I remember it all too well. That might be the best thing she's ever written. All Too Well is the apex of Taylor putting every ounce of detail she can into a song. She's painting you as vivid a picture as humanly possible, and that's what makes it hurt so much more when she describes the heartbreaking end to this relationship. Besides those, State of Grace is anthemic arena rock, Treacherous acts as a good transition from Red to I Knew You Were Trouble, Holy Ground is an exciting ride from start to finish, and then Sad Beautiful Tragic slows things down for this super genuine, melancholy lullaby. Red has everything I want from a Taylor Swift album. It shows that she can successfully be the biggest pop star in the world one second, and then a reincarnation of Joni Mitchell the next. It's near perfect. So, Taylor Swift fans, be easy on me. I'm new to all of this. I'm interested to see what you think of my rankings. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching. Hey, thank you for watching that video. It was really fun doing that. It's always interesting exploring a new discography, but it's even more interesting when that musician has been huge for a decade of my life, and I just never really checked her out. If you want to support the channel, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow me on social media at RenshawHS. You can buy my merch, support my Patreon, and thank you again. I'll see you soon.